Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the garage. Gerald with you, of course, and you know it's getting closer and closer, even though it's still like 8 months away. But the Oscars are coming, whether we like it or not, for 2026, the 98th Annual Academy Awards. I've been doing some fun stuff on the channel to get ready for that, really throughout the entire year. I did a fantasy movie draft with Matt and Jonathan last week. I did my Way Too Early, kind of like on the radar, which was like 40 films that I thought you should kind of have in your bank to be ready for those. And now I'm going to give you my actual early predictions. So these are going to be what I'm starting my kind of template with to go throughout the season. And I will update these right now in the beginning, probably at least once a month, maybe twice a month. And then as we get closer into the fall and things start to come into focus, I'll do it a lot more frequently like I did this past season. We're going to do the 6 major categories tonight. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. But I wanted to do something different this year because with my YouTube channel, this is like the 3rd year in a row I've been kind of doing predictions. And I've always just kind of done the videos, and I'll still do that a little bit this year too. But I wanted to do kind of like a kickoff special. And I wanted to have a guest on that's pretty knowledgeable about what's going on in the film world and what might be on the horizon, and maybe some stuff that I don't even recognize, so maybe kind of help me for future predictions. And also I'm really excited because he's never been on the show, YouTube or the podcast. And I've been a fan of Mr. Cody Dericks for a long time. I know him from Next Best Picture, but you're all over the place, man. Cody, welcome into the garage, buddy. What's up?
Hi, you're in the garage, I'm in my kitchen. We're really representing what you wouldn't typically think of as podcast studios all around the house.
Yeah. I know, yeah. I made my little corner of the garage. This is what my wife gave me out here. It's like a little 5x8 area, and I make it work. So, but yeah, so obviously Oscar predictions is nothing new, and I know you do it. You've been doing it. How many years have you been like officially doing it?
Well, you know, I've been with Next Best Picture since 2018, but I've been following this on my own with my own independent, you know, checklists and documents since I was 11 or 12. So
yeah, dude,
the better part of 2 decades.
Same here. It's crazy. You know, I didn't even kind of realize that I was talking to another friend of mine during this past award season, and I kind of realized in that conversation that I've really been doing Oscar predictions like since I did it with my father back in the 90s. And back then, you know, there was no social media, there was no internet, or it was like infancy stages of the internet. And we would like look at the Sunday paper and like kind of get, you know, entertainment articles to figure out what the hot movie was. I remember the first season that I was like really into was Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven year, which I think was 92. So really I've been doing it since then. So I'm insane and I stick with it and I love doing it. So we're going to do that tonight, and you were so gracious to come along and kind of help me bounce ideas off of and kind of talk through this as opposed to me just talking to my camera, which I will do many more times, but I'm so glad that you're here to help me through this and to be my partner tonight. I want to let everybody know we're going to do the 6 major categories tonight. Obviously I'm not even going to get anywhere near the text and screenplays and all that stuff until probably the fall when it starts to come into focus a little bit more. I mean, I have some ideas, but I'm not going to throw predictions out there quite yet. But we are going to do Best Picture, obviously. We'll be doing Best Director tonight as well. And then we're going to be doing the 4 acting categories. So 2 supporting categories and the 2 lead categories. And we're going to give our, like, who we think is going to get nominated, but then an additional kind of like bench, if you will. So for picture, that would be 20 films that each of us are going to list. And all the other categories would be 10. So what I decided to do, what I thought would be fun, is I'm going to let Cody go first. Now, Cody knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. In fact, I get a lot of my information from Cody. I mean, I do. From Next Best Picture. I mean, I do. I really do. I love you guys.
Volume, being willing to put your voice out there, but maybe not always right, doesn't, you know, does not necessarily. I will say I'm better at predicting nominations than winners, usually. So I guess this is the good phase for me to be in.
Me too, actually. Although this past year I did pretty good. I think I did. I screwed up. I should have been. But I made one last-second change. What was it? Oh, I changed Best Sound from Dune to A Complete Unknown, like literally 2 hours before the show. So I would have gotten that one. And there was another one that I knew was going to happen, but I didn't pick it. I can't remember what it is right now. But anyway, we're like you said earlier, we got to put that in rear view. So instead of 20, I got 18. But whatever, it's fine. That's the, you know, we're on to a new year. So
I got 18
20 this year
as well.
We're fine. That's pretty good percentage-wise. So we're going to get things kicked off with Best Picture. We're going to give our 20 films individually. Then I thought what would be cool is I'm going to try, so audience bear with me, and hopefully editing Gerald kind of fixed everything, but I'm going to put a screen share and show our picks kind of side by side, and then we can kind of see how many we matched up, because I can only assume it's not going to be 20 for 20 or 10 for 10 in other categories. If it is, that'd be fucking wild. That would be crazy, because we haven't talked about this beforehand either. We should tell everybody. Cody, before we do that though, we're recording this on April 10th. Today, which I didn't even know when I set this up with you a couple weeks ago, they announced the selections for Cannes, which is kind of crazy that that happened on the day that we're recording this. First of all, 2 questions. So did that factor into your predictions at all? Like, how much weight do you give to the Cannes Film Festival and their selection?
You know, I should have probably given it more, given how lately Cannes-centric the Oscars have been. You know, these Palme d'Or winners are getting nominated and recently winning Best Picture more often than they have in a long time. But this year, I didn't go as in-depth with the lineup as I usually do, mostly because I have right now such a deep bench, and we'll get into this, of movies from people that are either very Academy-friendly already or feel like they're on the verge of breaking through. And so I felt pretty comfortable with the 20 I got. And then we will see what happens with Cannes when it happens in a few months. Or next month.
Yeah.
Whenever that is.
I mean, that's something that's actually... It's funny that you mentioned that, because I was going to ask you too, mentality-wise, because that's something that's actually been really successful for me generally in predictions, is that I usually just kind of stick with my hunches for the most part. Like, I don't veer off too much unless it's like super obvious, you know, like the entire world is like, okay, this is going to happen. Then I might be like, all right, well, you know, like I'm thinking of this past season, like I stuck with Clarence Macklin for supporting for literally ever. Like I didn't take him out of my predictions until like, it must have been like SAG maybe, that I was like, okay, you know, SAG didn't even nominate him, so... But just stuff like that, like I just kind of stick with what I think feels right, you know, which I think is kind of what
there's always one or two contenders we hold on to, whether for prideful reasons or because we really want it to happen.
Yeah,
and it doesn't always happen.
That's for sure. And then the other question I had for you before we dive into our list of movies and performances and stuff here. On April 10th, I know it's early in the year, the first quarter just wrapped up. How do you feel, and I genuinely want to know your answer because I have an answer I'll share with you as well, but how do you feel about movies so far in 2025?
It's fine, you know, and I've seen quite a bit. I went to Sundance, but of the like almost 70 movies I've seen so far, I would only call like 3 or 4 of them, maybe anything above, pretty good.
Okay.
But, you know, it's April. This is not atypical, but having included all my Sundance watches in this, and this was probably my least exciting Sundance in terms of the films I saw since I started going 5 years ago. Not amazing so far, but we've got time.
That's kind of how I feel. It just feels kind of weird. Like I feel like it's super kind of dull so far. I mean, now I haven't done, you know, Sundance or South by. I didn't get to do any of that stuff. So I'm seeing basically what the general public is seeing up until this point. I mean, you know, even if I do a press screening, it's only like a week in advance. So I'm seeing everything kind of in real time so far, and it's nothing extraordinary, honestly. I mean, there's a couple movies that I think are like really good that I really enjoyed, probably like 4 out of 5 star kind of thing, but nothing like blow me away. Oh my God, this should win the Academy Award. You know, not saying that something might not do that, but I just don't feel it yet. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of bummed, but also that makes me kind of like wonder, is the second half of the year going to just like, are we going to be peak? You know, I mean, the rest of this
I'll
year,
say in terms of Oscars, I highly doubt anything I've seen so far gets any Oscar nominations. I mean, maybe some of the things I saw at Sundance, especially documentaries, do well from Sundance, but
yeah, I think you're right. All right, I'm going to pull up my spreadsheet here. Cody, just kind of like slowly list them. I mean, you don't have to like, I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old. You could list them, but I'm going to be typing them in as you're listening them. So Cody is going to list his 20 films that he thinks at least stand a chance to be nominated for Best Picture next year. And we decided that we're going to start with basically our number 1, like most likely, down to number 20, which would be like a Hail Mary, it might happen, but it's probably not going to kind of thing. All right, so what are your Best Picture contenders?
So number 1, I have Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. Probably not too surprising to have that number 1.
We're gonna talk about that one a lot, because I got some blowback from your boy Matt on. We'll talk about it. I want to get your list real quick. Go ahead.
All right. Number 2, I have After the Hunt, Luca Guadagnino. Number 3, I don't think this is necessarily gonna win, but I think we have to consider it a pretty very possible nominee is Wicked for Good. Number 4, I have the TIFF audience winner, The Life of Chuck.
Okay.
Very excited for that one personally.
I'm really excited for that one. Yeah, for sure.
Number 5, I have Lynn Ramsey's Die, My Love. Number 6, I'm going with returning from Best Picture and Best Director winner recently, Chloe Zhao, Hamnet. Number 7, feel pretty good about this getting in, but not being anywhere close to a winner, Avatar, Fire and Ash. Number 8, on the heels of another music biopic doing well last year at the Oscar nominations, I'm going with Deliver Me From Nowhere, which is the Bruce Springsteen biopic.
As you so eloquently said in pre-recording, the new Bob Dylan biopic.
Yes, yeah, they're doing it again.
I was like, wait, what? There's a sequel? I can't believe it.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Number 9, Marty Supreme.
Alrighty.
Number 10, recently announced for Cannes, Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest.
Okay, all right. Interesting.
All right, and now we're into second tier.
All right.
Number 11, I'm going with the wonderfully titled, untitled Catherine Bigelow White House thriller. I'm really excited for that one.
They should just keep that.
I think it's like, it tells me exactly what I need to know about. I'm already going to see it based on that.
That's it. It's already a player. It's like that new show, too, that's going to be on Max or whatever, the Untitled Rachel Center Project. I'm like, just let that be the name of the show. Like, it's perfect. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Number 12, Edward Berger's The Ballad of a Small Player. Number 13, I don't remember the name of this director, but it's a World War II movie, Pressure.
Oh, I just recently heard about that one. So spoiler alert, that's not on my list, but I literally just heard about that, I think today, actually, or yesterday.
Yeah,
so.
Me too. And I was like, that sounds like...
Okay, yeah, Oscar. I agree. It did sound kind of juicy for sure. All right, go ahead.
Number 14, recently got the trailer for this, Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme. Number 15, coming back from his whaling adventure, going with Darren Aronofsky's Caught Stealing.
Good. I love it. I'm glad to hear other people doing that.
Yep. Number 16, Yorgos Lanthimos' Begonia.
Okay.
Number 17, we just got the poster for this one, and I think it's going to Cannes. Eddington.
Yeah, that's another one that we'll elaborate on here in a second. But go ahead.
Yep. Number 18, No Other Choice by Park Chan-wook.
Love it.
Yep. Number 19, not really sure if this is actually a contender, but given the bona fides, I have to put it somewhere. Going with Materialists from Celine Song.
Okay, interesting.
Yep.
I like
it. And number 20 from, I think this is how you pronounce his name, Joachim Trier, Sentimental Value.
Yeah, you got to, man. I think that, I mean, I don't really do this, generally speaking, but I think if I was making a poem, your prediction, like right this second, that would probably be my pick. Okay, let me list my 20 real quick, and then I'll share the screen with you. I'll probably highlight the ones that we matched on, but let me go ahead and list mine real quick, and then in your head, you'll kind of know, like, oh, okay,
yeah.
I picked that too. And these are in order, just like Cody did, from 1 to 20, 1 being the most likely to get nominated. So we matched up there. My number 1 is also PTA's One Battle After Another, which is why I was thrilled that you did that. And I'll talk a little bit about some things I've been kind of hearing about that movie versus what we were hearing before the trailer came out. My number 2 would be Wicked for Good. My number 3 would actually be Avatar Fire and Ash. I just can't deny JC. I just think that it's so likely that he'll be nominated. So I have to put it pretty highly on the list. I've also got Hamnet. That's my number 4. My number 5 is Marty Supreme. Number 6 is The Ballad of a Small Player. Number 7, which I don't think you mentioned, is Jay Kelly, the new Noah Baumbach with George Clooney.
I had not mentioned it in this category.
And I also don't think you mentioned my number 8, which is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
No, I didn't mention
I'm gonna let you. I want to hear. That's kind of why I like doing this, especially the early predictions. I kind of want to like work it out, And then for rounding out my 10 will be 2 international picks, which you almost kind of have to do these days with the Academy. So I'm also going to have Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice, which is my number 9. And my number 10 is the one that we were just speaking about a minute ago, Sentimental Value from Trier. And then getting into my bottom 10, I have Begonia at 11, Ann Lee at 12. That's Mona Fastvold's film with her writing partner and husband, Brady Corbet, on that one. They kind of swapped roles a little bit from The Brutalist Days. Then I've got Deliver Me From Nowhere, which you mentioned. The Life of Chuck is my 14. My 15 is the untitled Catherine Bigelow project, or whatever we're calling it. 16 is After the Hunt from Luca Guadagnino. Another one I would kind of want to talk about a little bit more in depth because I just am worried about Luca at the Oscars since Call Me By Your Name, really. He's in a drought, he's just in a drought.
Sure.
And I mean, anything really. I mean, I'm not talking about just movies, so I'm just worried about that. I don't want that to be the case, but it seems to be. Caught Stealing is my 17. Love that one. The Rivals of Amziah King is my 18, which I don't think you mentioned. That's the one with McConaughey.
That was my number 21, so almost made the cut.
Yeah, that's one that I've been hearing chatter on lately, and I was like, okay. My number 19 is a movie that I can already tell you that I'm going to be the spokesperson for this film, and in particular for June Squibb to get a lead actress nomination, but that's Eleanor the Great. I was so thrilled that it got in at Cannes today too, because that kind of helps the pathway a little bit, assuming it's well received. But man, I can already tell you, I'm going to be talking about this movie way too much to where I'm either going to look like a moron when the nominations come out, or I'm going to be a genius. So I've been saying it since I did that video in March. So I'm like, I feel like it has a lot of the great ingredients that we need for that kind of stuff. And then my number 20 would be Highest to Lowest, which is the Spike Lee joint, and the one that you had a little higher up on your list. So there you go. So let me share the screen with you, Cody, and then we can kind of compare picks here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the ones which, if you're watching on YouTube, is probably going to be happening in real time. So just deal with it. It'll be fine. In looking at these, Cody, I want you to give a little commentary on some of the ones we didn't match up on, and then I can do the same. But one of the ones that I'm like super kind of intrigued by is, well, there's a couple really, but Eddington from Ari Aster. Well, why don't you start? Because I don't want to like influence your response, but why don't you start as to why you see that one as a potential Best Picture nominee versus, you know, really anything else he's done.
So like I was saying, the films on this list mostly fall into two categories. It's either directors that the Academy already likes, or separate camp, people who feel like they're this close to Oscar attention, that they've been circling, or parts of their films have been circling. And I do think that applies to Ari Aster. You know, Hereditary, I don't think she was actually close, but she's definitely part of the conversation. Toni Collette's performance. Same with Florence Pugh in Midsommar. And then Beau's Afraid was part of the conversation until people saw it. And
right, sure.
He still got a Golden Globe nomination, so he was, I guess you could say, technically a contender. So I feel like enough people in terms of the circles of people who matter for Academy attention have been kind of paying attention to Ari Aster. We'll see what happens. We'll see, you know, if this movie is anything like his other three movies in terms of tone or content. Probably not. I was, you know, saying that out loud, I'm like, I guess I don't really have a reason to think he would change his ways now.
The cast is phenomenal. I mean, best casting is going to be for the first time up this year as well, and you got to think a cast like that might at least be in the conversation for that as well. Yeah, I mean, you probably know this about me, or you could look behind me and know, but I'm a huge horror fanatic. Like, it's my favorite genre of film, which often never lines up with the Academy, and I know you love it as well, and I hear you talk about it on MPP all the time. So I'm just cynical because of that, because they often overlook it like year after year after year. And in recent memory, a lot of times the overlooking is on the behest of people like Ari Aster. You know, is Eddington going to be the right project for that? I don't know. But I do see things like maybe screenplay, or do you know if they created this town in New Mexico? Is it like a production design situation, or do you know if it's just like a town that they went to look at? Yeah, because I was thinking we might be looking at something like that too.
It is contemporary though, and they don't like those in those categories.
I know.
We'll see.
So look at the green on here for me real quick, Cody. So I just did the top 10 for now. So is that right? So we only matched 2, 4, 5 in the top 10? Or did I miss
Looks right, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about these then. So kind of spinning off of Ari Aster and that conversation with Eddington, which, by the way, I mean, I'm sure it's going to have horror elements because it's Ari Aster, but it has been described as like a dark comedy / Western. I don't really know what to expect with this movie, which is why I'm so excited for it. I have no idea what it's going to be. But with Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, we have at least a pretty good semblance of what we're going to be looking at. You know, tonally and like thematically, you can kind of almost visualize it, knowing his kind of aesthetic and lineage, you know, films like Shape of Water and other Oscar-friendly pictures that he's done. So I'm curious as to why you left that out at this stage of the game, and I'm talking about of your top 20 even. Do you care to just kind of give me some insight there?
So I guess at this point it's because there are so many other contenders that feel more Oscar-friendly in terms of content than Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I know his last 2 live-action films were nominated for Best Picture, one of which won. I know he won Best Animated Feature recently. I get all that, and this would have to be a disaster for it not to be a contender and almost guaranteed nominee in a lot of the tech categories. But I don't know, something about Guillermo del Toro, Frankenstein, I will cop to the fact that I'm not really a big fan of del Toro in general.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so maybe that's influencing my bias here. He just doesn't really do much for me. Nightmare Alley is my favorite movie of his, if that tells you the kind of perspective of his that I like best.
Well, that was Oscar-friendly that year, though, for sure.
I'm in the minority with that, I understand. But yeah, it almost seems too obvious. Like, you know, Frankenstein's like, he's basically been doing that for 30 years now. We understand. We'll see. I mean, again, I highly doubt it's not going to get at least 3 nominations in the tech categories unless it's a huge disaster.
Yeah, you know, I was equating it when it came up on the fantasy draft that I did with your buddy Matt and our friend Jonathan Fuji, and we were talking about the movie because all 3 of us, you know, wanted it. I think Matt ended up getting it on his team, and he actually took it first. I don't know if he told you, if you saw the video, but that was his first pick in the draft.
Sorry, Matt. I don't agree.
Even I, as the horror guy, was like, holy shit, like that's kind of early, But he had good rationale as to why, and really, which is also why I was putting it in my 10, much lower than number 1. But I think I had it at what do I have it at? 8 here. So, but Del Toro. I mean, his relationship with the Academy is really what's doing it for me, honestly, because obviously we haven't seen it yet aside from some stills and stuff, but really it's very similar to me from Eggers' Nosferatu last year. I just kind of equated in the same kind of field of play. So that one didn't get picture, didn't get director, didn't get any acting noms, no top of the line stuff. So why would this one? And for me, the only thing kind of nudging me to be like, okay, it could happen is because of Del Toro. Now, like you said, I mean, maybe it is another Nosferatu situation. It doesn't matter who the director is. They just don't, vibe with it on that high level tier of nominations. I do agree that it's probably going to, it's not going to blank, I don't think. And I could tell you that right now in April. It's probably going to get, if not visual effects and production design, cinematography. The guy knows how to make a movie, and they're all beautiful. And, I can't imagine that this one would be any different. And I also think that being a period setting from some of the stills I've seen, and, some of these younger, I'm using that term not necessarily from age, but just from Academy recognition, like Oscar Isaac, and Mia Goth has missed way too many times. Well, not way too many, but a few times in my opinion. And she's in this movie in a supporting role. I'm waiting to see how how juicy that role is for her. But Jacob Elordi, who's a up and comer that seems to have good rapport with them. So I don't know. I'm hopeful that it happens. I have it at number 8, so I'm not super confident. But I do think that if we're going to get some horror representation, if you look at both of our lists here, I guess maybe Die My Love might have a horror flair to it, knowing Lynn Ramsey's sensibility. But otherwise, I think, right? Or am I missing? Yeah, I think Frankenstein's the only mention on the 2 of our list that would be horror.
Right, and to your point, if it weren't Guillermo del Toro, I would caution you against predicting horror at this point in the race.
Yep.
I understand the bona fides, the credentials, it all makes sense. And I'm willing to cop to the fact that it might be just my bias against del Toro, which is maybe going to, come back to bite me later. But we'll see.
Yeah. Also, you talk to me a little bit about unless I'm failing to remember the country of origin on all these, I don't think you have an international pick, right? Or do you?
In my 10, I don't think so. I have them a bit further down. But to your point, the Academy lately has almost always included at least one. Last year we got 2 international feature contenders. The year before we got 2 as well. They just didn't submit Anatomy of a Fall, but whatever. I would say that there's a very good chance one of these will leap up into the 10. I guess the way I put my list together wasn't... How can I explain this? I wasn't necessarily looking at my top 10 as this is my most likely 10 Best Picture nominees. It was kind of these are 20 films that I think are very strong contenders for Best Picture in varying order. I know that doesn't sound like it makes any sense, but it makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying. It's just kind of the top 20 that, any one of them can do anything when it comes to the race. Yeah, for me, this is going to be my initial prediction, so this is what I'm throwing out there. Okay, so matching 5 out of 10 there, which is not bad. When I did this last year, I did it a little bit later. I think I did it at the end of May or early June, but I got 5 out of 10 right of what ended up being nominated for Best Picture. So,
oh, nice.
I'll take it that early. Wicked for Good. Let's talk about that one real quick because we both picked it. Obviously, you also think it's going to get nominated for Best Picture, as do I. But I am worried though. I feel like this could go awry pretty quickly depending on reception and reviews and, any number of things because, I do know the musical pretty well. I've seen it a few times on stage and, my wife's a big musical theater person. We love that musical. So I know the story. And I know it's a much, less fun portion, for lack of a better way to put it. And part 1 was a very fun, kind of almost like a family kind of film. That's not really the second half, depending on how John Chu, relates it to us. But based on the source material, it's not really a fun second half. So I am concerned about how it'll be received. Obviously not enough for me to take it out of my 10, but I just want to know kind of where you're sitting mentally with Wicked for Good. Do you feel really good about it, or are you just kind of maybe?
It's mostly in here for the same reason Avatar is, which is the last one got in, and with Avatar, the last 2 got in, and with things like those movies and Dune, the Academy is showing a willingness to bring in sequels, and they've even done that with movies that the first one didn't get nominated, like Top Gun or Mad Max. With Wicked, I'm also a huge musical guy. It's horror and musicals for some reason, the 2.
That's awesome. That's great.
Always they wrestle within me. Yes. Act 2 of Wicked is not as good as Act 1, but that is true of basically every musical ever written. It's kind of the way the structure works. And we know for a fact that they're changing it to some degree. They're adding 2 new songs, which they didn't add any songs to part 1. And I have to imagine, just based on the fact that on stage, Act 2 only runs about an hour, which again is typical of most musicals, they're going to have to add some stuff and change some things. So I don't really feel comfortable personally being like, well, Wicked Act 2 on stage is no good and it's not as fun necessarily, which is true. And I doubt will change too much in terms of the tone. But I don't know if I can judge the quality because it's going to have to be so different from the stage show. And given how much they loved the first one, you know, won 2 Oscars, it was not the nomination leader, but it was up there. And you have to consider it's going to be a strong contender in the same categories it won last time. It's going to, I would put money on win Best Song. Yeah, it would be hard to topple it unless, again, it's a huge disaster. So unless they just totally whiff it, which because these were made in such quick succession, it'll be kind of hard for me to believe they would do. Kind of like if Lord of the Rings suddenly was really bad in the last one.
Right.
I have to consider it for Best Picture. And I would use all the same arguments for Avatar. We just don't have the knowledge of what it's going to be because it's not based on pre-existing material.
Sure. Yeah.
Avatar I would put money on winning Best Visual Effects right now. I have a month's rent on it.
Absolutely. It'll be like a crazy left field, out of nowhere shock that we didn't see coming at this point in the year if it doesn't win visual effects. Like, you know, I mean, you got to imagine it's going to. With Wicked for Good, and then we can move on. I think that, well, I should say I'm very, very hopeful, obviously, for Best Picture, but also more so for Ariana Grande to get back, to have like a cumulative maybe victory would be great, but just like recognition from even another body, even like the SAG, or, I mean, hell, Critics' Choice even would be great for her. Just some kind of recognition for this role of Glinda, because I think she did something really special. And if the arc in the movie follows Glinda's arc in the musical, she's basically 2 different people. I mean, from the first one versus what she is in the second half, where she's almost like not necessarily a villain, but like an antagonist, or like a sympathetic antagonist, kind of. I don't know, it's hard to explain. But her arc is very complex and very elaborate. So if the Academy obviously just, you know, recognized her with a nomination, and, you know, they obviously know what she did in the first one. So if her performance comes along in the second one and it does match kind of what the source material is, then we're going to get a very different performance from her, or we should. So I feel like that may get a good response from voters in awards bodies, because they'll see the range that she kind of had with the same character. You know what I mean? And I feel like that could go a long way. They could just be really impressed by that, basically. So yeah, I'm hopeful for her. And then you already mentioned original song. I think that's probably I won't say a shoe-in, because we have no idea what songs are coming out this year, but I think it's a really, really good chance. I'll put it that way. So, and then otherwise on the Best Picture, everybody watching on YouTube can see there the 20 that we have. I didn't highlight the ones below the top 10 there, but we matched 5 out of 10 for what we think is going to get nominated. The ones that you have listed that I didn't. So I mentioned already why I was worried about After the Hunt, and that's just Luca just continually missing every movie he's put out, basically, since Call Me by Your Name, and I don't really know why. I mean, a couple of them I know why. Suspiria is a little too horror. Bones and All is also kind of horror. You know, I think they were great films, and I would have loved for them to have received some recognition, but I don't think they were super Academy friendly. We're going to be talking about After the Hunt here in a little bit, though, because I do have it kind of showing up in some other categories, but I'm just worried about the Best Picture and like director, because I just don't see the Academy proving to me that they're going to honor him quite yet. But I hope I'm wrong, because I love his movies.
Yeah, I get that. And, you know, he's similar to Wes Anderson in that Wes Anderson has an Oscar now, technically. Call Me by Your Name is the only time he really showed up at the Oscars. I Am Love got a costume nomination. And similarly, Wes Anderson has barely shown up at the Oscars outside of writing categories, except for Grand Budapest, which they went nuts over. Yeah, I really can't figure that out. That's like one of the great mysteries. We all have that similar, why this movie? And I love Grand Budapest. It just doesn't really make sense why. But
I agree. I agree.
With this movie, though, for Luca, just based on the description, it feels like his most grounded in a while. Yeah. Since Call Me by Your Name. And, you know, so did Queer on paper, but I'm guessing anybody who read the book could tell you otherwise, because by the time you saw
that did pan out in terms of like a straight narrative, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, oh my God.
That wasn't straight. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah. That's not what I meant, but yeah. That's
but cool. With After the Hunt, I mean, it sounds like it's based on kind of hot topic issues. It's got a more Academy-friendly cast than he's had in a while. You know, Julia Roberts is there, Andrew Garfield is there. They are both Academy darlings. And it just feels like kind of I could see the Academy being like, oh, Luca, thank you. This is the kind of movie we wanted you to make. And even Call Me By Your Name is a little bit extrapolated from typical Academy standards. I feel, and the word I've heard out of CinemaCon from people who heard more about the movie is that, oh, this feels like his closest thing to an actual Oscar contender since Call Me By Your Name.
Okay, well, that's good then. That's good. And I think I probably will change my tune once I see the product. You know what I mean? I try not to let my bias creep in. You know, I know your friend Gio that you guys have on NBP all the time is also like a huge Challengers defender. So, but I try not to be like a super fan when I'm giving this commentary. But at the same time, I stop and I go, well, maybe that's what I'm doing. But
sure.
I was just like, Challengers is going to get like, there's no way it's going to get 0 nominations. Like, it's going to get editing or score or like, you know, Zendaya or I mean, literally anything. You know, and it got nothing. And I'm to this moment as I'm sitting here, I'm still flabbergasted by that. Like, I can't believe they didn't give it 1 nomination. I mean, even original score even would have been like inspired, you know. So I'm just worried, but I think I will probably end up changing my tune if the product's a little more palatable for a body like the Academy. So we'll see. The last one I want to ask you about on this page here that we're looking at is Begonia, because neither one of us put it in our 10. I have seen a lot of people are putting it in their 10. And of course, we don't know who's going to be right and who's going to be wrong. But why are you kind of not there yet with Begonia?
It sounds, just from the little we know of it, more like Kinds of Kindness, Sacred Deer Yorgos than Poor Things favorite Yorgos. But then again, Poor Things on paper probably also would have sounded like nothing the Academy would have gone for, and then it was arguably second place for the Oscar.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And at this point, you have to consider him somebody the Academy is just excited about.
Yeah, especially with Emma Stone. I mean, that pairing is like, you know.
Yep.
And speaking of one battle after another real quick, we both have it at our number 1. A lot of folks saw the trailer, and I'm assuming you don't understand either because you still have it at your number 1, most likely. I don't. The trailer didn't do anything negatively for me in terms of my viewpoint on its Academy prospects. The only thing that gave me pause, which was actually way before I saw the trailer, was the 100 million or 120 million or whatever's budget and the release date in September. But I still go, well, the combo of PTA and Leo, really PTA by himself, but then with Leo, who I think I read that the last 7 movies Leo has been in have been nominated for Best Picture. Is that right? I feel like
that's about right. He's very picky with his movies and basically doesn't pick anything that's not a winner.
So I want to hear you talk about.
So a lot of my thoughts on this are probably going to overlap with Best Director, so I'll just kind of, you know. But what I would say is that he kind of feels like right now what Christopher Nolan felt like before Oppenheimer, where it's like, what's it going to take? And Christopher Nolan was even less of an Academy darling than PTA is right now. PTA is sitting on 11 Oscar nominations without a single win. That's crazy.
I was going to say, I think all his movies have gotten a nomination one way, or even Inherent Vice, right? I think got screenplay. So
not all of them. His first one, Heart 8, didn't get anything. Punch Drunk Love didn't get anything.
Oh, that's right, Punch Drunk Love.
The vast majority of his films have gotten high-level nominations. They've all gotten screenplay, except for weirdly Phantom Thread. Very bizarre.
Yeah, that was.
And then a bunch of them have gotten picture and director. So I don't really see a reason to doubt him being somebody that even Academy members are probably already looking at the film and going, that's going to be a big one. I'm excited for that one because he's just a guy that they like. And I think it would be very easy for Warner Brothers to spin an overdue narrative for him. Whether that's in screenplay, director, picture, or all 3, I don't know yet. We'll have to see. But I think it's going to be really hard to deny him at this point unless the movie is either really bad or we see it and it's kind of like Inherent Vice. We go, oh, okay, this is not really general Academy taste. It may still get a nomination here or there. But, I mean, Licorice Pizza doesn't really feel super Oscar-y, and that got in. Phantom Thread came out of nowhere last minute and got not just picture, but director. Not out of nowhere, I should say, but it was not part of the precursors, really, at all, except for DDL. And it just screams to me frontrunner. Now, being the frontrunner in April, not necessarily where you want to be. Like Oppenheimer and Lord of the Rings, that's kind of it. Those are kind of the only movies that we could call that far in advance. And Oppenheimer was 2 months away from release at this point.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you know, that's what was so kind of exhilarating about Mikey's win this past season too, because you know I had her at #1 since this time last year, you know, for the whole year, and I'm like, is that real? You know, and then she was essentially the front runner, like critically at least, you know, the whole season. And then Demi Moore, when the Globes happened, is when that whole thing kind of started getting mixed up a little bit. So that's rare to be the front runner in like April or May and then ride it all the way to the Oscars. So that does have me concerned, but I think in terms of a nomination, which is what we're talking about tonight versus a win, I think I would be really, really surprised if PTA doesn't get a nomination for One Battle in Best Picture. I just don't see that not happening at this point. So
I mean, even the things I listed about, like he gets nominated for at least one award for basically every movie in his filmography except for like 2. The last time a movie of his didn't get a nomination was 20 years ago, almost 25 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So next up, we're going to dive into our Best Director nominees. Now, again, the first 5 names that you see on the screen will be who we think is going to be nominated. The second 5 will be bench players that could sub in for any of those at any point. And then again, we don't know what the hell we're talking about either, right, Cody? I mean, who knows? This is what we're saying in April. Oh, my Lord.
All right, so embarrassed when I watched this in like a year. Yeah.
That's the reason why I wanted to have somebody on with me to do it, because I'm like, maybe I won't be the only one that, you know, looks like he's never watched a movie before. All right, Cody, why don't you list your 10 that you think are in the Best Director discussion for 2026?
All right. So I have #1, PTA, One Battle After Another. Don't really have any additional points beyond everything I've already said. #2, you know, after everything we just said, this might be a little high, but I do have Luca for After the Hunt. Again, I think this could be his moment if it has the effect we wanted to.
God, I hope so.
Okay. #3, I'm going with Lynn Ramsey for Die My Love. I think that could be a big deal. I also, and this is going to be really hard to phrase without sounding troubling, but just bear with me here.
Oh boy.
The Academy lately has made a point to not necessarily seek out, like they're having trouble finding one, but consistently nominate at least one female director every year, given that is a strong contender. There's a few on my list of potential nominees here. Maze the Men, obviously, as is the case every year, but I'm going with Lynn Ramsey this year. #4, I have Edward Berger for Ballad of a Small Player. I think he is gonna just feel somewhat overdue unless the movie is really not it. You know, he missed out on Best Director nominations somewhat surprisingly 2 times now for major Best Picture nominees. So you have to wonder if the Academy is gonna just make it happen finally.
Yeah, you'll find out in a second, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I actually predicted that snub for Conclave because I was like, but I don't think they can do that a 3rd time. Or at least I hope they can.
It would be really rude unless it's a disaster of a movie
like, oh
or
God,
just not a contender. Yep.
Yeah.
And then let's see. I'm torn between a few things here. My #5. I have quite a long list here, and here's where you start to take things into consideration. You got to think, okay, the director's branch's tastes are a bit more, to use a kind term, elevated than other categories. They are, some might call snobby, which is not to say their nominees aren't good. Usually they're really good, but that's just kind of where their tastes align. They really like nominating international directors, which you could say where Berger is, but it's an English language movie as far as I know. Right. So with all that in mind, I think I'm gonna take kind of a swing here and go with Park Chan-wook for No Other Choice.
Wow. Oh,
yeah.
I love that. I love that. I think, and I mentioned this on that draft I did with Matt, I think his moment has to be coming, really. I mean, he's another one that it's like, I know it's international, so it's a little bit different, but at the same time, there's been a few times that he's missed that have been pretty perplexing. So I don't know if, I don't know if No Other Choice is going to be that like phenomenal, Parasite type film that everybody's just like rallying around, but it's going to be crafted exquisitely. So
yes,
the direction is going to be top tier. So I love that.
It's kind of a swing. I just think the snub for the film decision to leave an international feature was such a disastrous, egregious omission that I wonder if enough Academy voters kind of got his name in their head because of the miss. Not that there was a lot of outrage about it. There was other things to be pissed about with that award ceremony. Again, it's a swing because is this going to be like Old Boy Lady Vengeance Park Chan-wook, which is most of his filmography, which is not necessarily
True, I was going to say, is it not going to be that? Yeah.
Right, but before Parasite, you could have said the same thing about Bong Joon-ho, another one of his like contemporaries. So you never know. So I'm just kind of taking a swing here. We will see.
Well, I like it, and I hope it's a home run because I like it. All right, so then who would be your 5 kind of like bench directors?
Sure. This is a bit kind of like tossed in the air random in terms of order, but I have Spike Lee for highest to lowest. I have Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme. I have Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. Catherine Bigelow for Untitled White House Thriller. Catherine Bigelow Party Time, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that thing, man. It's gonna be so good.
I am too. And then I'm split between two options here. I think I'm gonna go with Mike Flanagan for Life of Chuck.
Another inspiring pick there.
Bit of a prediction, just because I love him so much. In the spirit of transparency, the one I was between was John M. Chu, who did not get nominated for Wicked, obviously, but maybe was closer than we think. One Critics' Choice.
Right.
And if he can pull off Wicked Part 2 and make it as good, if not better than the first one, I think there might be enough kind of admiration for his achievement. But I also could see the director's branch being like, but not here, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so there you see Cody's 5+5, and we do have some matches, but kind of shockingly, there's quite a few that I did not include, but I love your list. Let me give you my list real quick, and then we can kind of compare. Okay, so we match up again. I did not know that I was getting a fellow PTA defender. Also didn't know we needed a PTA defender this time of the year. But
exactly.
like I said, I've heard people kind of bouncing off the bandwagon. But I also have him at #1 for One Battle After Another. Now, when it comes to wins, who knows? I mean, maybe it'll be strong enough for him to win. I mean, it's PTA, and like you said, he's definitely overdue. But I think from a nomination perspective, it would take something crazy, like Amelia Perez level crazy for me to be like, he's not going to get nominated.
That was my thinking, was like, it would have to be disastrous in a level that we've not seen from his career, his entire career thus far, for it not to be a strong contender.
Right. Yeah, I agree. We also match up on Edward Berger, and, I kind of piggybacked on what you said already, but I just think that a third consecutive time for a multiple nominated film to not get director, but get all this other shit being recognized would be crazy. Now, that's considering that The Ballad of a Small Player is going to hit and it's going to get nominations in other categories in text and acting or whatever. If it doesn't, then obviously it's probably not going to be a lone picture nomination or a lone director nomination. But assuming it gets, 4 or 5 or more, I don't see how you don't. I mean, we got to do something here. I mean, you can't keep nominating the guy's film for everything but director.
Somebody has to do something. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's got to get a hold of this. All right, so, I knew what you were saying when you were talking about the female representation, which I love, by the way. I do think that
hard to talk about it without sounding.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is I kind of share the sentiment. I kind of get what you're saying, because it's almost like they are going not out of their way, but they're making sure that they're strongly considering having that representation, as opposed to just what are the top 5? Do you know what I mean?
I think we can even spin it this way. I think there's a lack of only considering straight white guys in a way that it used to be. And now their thinking has expanded a little bit to include people from all sorts of camps that are not that one camp.
And I love it. I really do. With all that being said, I've got Chloe Zhao in for Hamnet in the 5. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the female representation, yes, but also she's great. And I mean, she absolutely racked up with Nomadland. So they obviously love her. They obviously have an affinity for her. She already has a history with them and just kind of a short career. And this film sounds very, very Academy friendly in terms of the premise, the setting, the historical part of it, the actors involved in the project. And even with a movie like Eternals, and then obviously with Nomadland, like I mentioned, we know the kind of scale of her films and how beautiful they are. So I think the Academy is going to really respond to it. And I think that, I'm not going to call it a lock, but I feel really good about her getting back in here for Hamnet. I know you may disagree because we were talking about this earlier, but I did have, I was about to say Benicio del Toro. He's not doing a direction effort this year, I don't think. Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein. I do have him in. I think if Frankenstein hits, it's going to hit. If it doesn't hit, it's going to get 2 or 3 texts, and that's going to be it. So assuming it hits, that's kind of where I'm going. And then you mentioned this earlier, so let me type it and see what you say here. I've got it. Look at that.
I've
got it. I've got him in the 5 right now. So John M. Chu, for those listening maybe on audio, I'll be respectful. So I've got John M. Chu in my 5th spot right now for Wicked for Good. You mentioned that he did get the one lone win last season, which was kind of crazy. That was actually one of the more surprising things all of award season. I was just like, what?
Yeah. I was at a restaurant and told my friend who is not an Academy person. I was like, oh my God, he's won Best Director. I need to take a second. Sorry.
Yeah, let me check. It's like one of those news stories that you would think it's April Fool's when they reported it.
Exactly. Who tweeted it?
I wasn't even mad about it. It was just really weird.
No, it was just surprising.
And then, so that would be my 5. And then I've got a few near misses here that I feel good about, but I just don't know until I see kind of some of the finished product. But I do have Yorgos Lanthimos right there in the mix as usual, you know, especially working with Emma Stone again. I've heard some really good things about Jesse Plemons' performance in the movie. Obviously, the texts are going to be on the table with a Lanthimos film, so it does have the potential to kind of lead to a director nomination. The only thing with Lanthimos is that all his films are like really strange and visually, I won't say upsetting, but like visually like kind of like off kilter a little bit. There's something kind of weird about them.
He delights in kind of perversity.
I agree.
Kind of making the audience revolt in, you know, in a way that is controlled. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and you know, one thing I was going to say is I remember being really surprised that Poor Things was as big of a player as it was that year, because that's, you know, it's just a really strange film. Like, it's really weird, you know? And even after I saw it, I was like, they're not going to fucking go for that. That's, I mean, that's the craziest shit I've ever seen, you know? And they did. I mean, like you said, it was probably number 2.
And people were doubting him to get nominated all season, I myself included, until it happened.
Me too, yeah.
Which feels crazy looking back, but yeah.
Mona Fastvold, another female representation here. She could get in. I mean, I think Ann Lee's going to be a big player. I'm really basing that on the success of The Brutalist, and it's the same. It's the same filmmaking combo. Obviously, they work really well together as a tandem. So we'll have to see if it's obviously going to look different because it's a different director. But a lot of the same crew is involved and some great actors in the film. I also have high hopes for a couple of the performances, which we'll get to here in a second. But I've got her as a near miss right now. And then here's where I have Luca, because I am extremely hopeful, but not as hopeful as Cody. I've still got him missing, unfortunately. How about, why don't you give me some commentary on Noah Baumbach here? Because I've got him as a possible for Jay Kelly.
You know, I feel very similarly about him and Wes Anderson when it comes to Oscar love. They both have a few, less with Baumbach, but screenplay nominations. And then Marriage Story was like, unless I'm missing something in my memory, the one time the Academy really went nuts for Baumbach. And then they didn't come anywhere close to White Noise, which is his last film.
Right.
So, which I always forget he made that movie, because it does not feel like a Baumbach movie.
It really doesn't. Yeah, it's like definitely a one-off. Yeah. It's.
But I'm curious about that. I like his work, but kind of like Wes Anderson, I'm a little skeptical to predict him in general until we see the movie itself.
Yeah, that's fair. And I didn't have Jay Kelly. I mean, I had it on my radar if we're talking about 50 movies, because I had it in the initial top 50, but I didn't have it on my radar like 10 to 15 until like maybe a couple weeks ago, because I saw the synopsis and I read some things about Adam Sandler's portrayal. He's in the film. And I'm like, okay, well, this does kind of sound like a Marriage Story. I know Greta Gerwig's in the movie as well. Like, I don't know. It just feels kind of like there's going to be a lot of things that the Academy's eyes are going to kind of perk up when they see it. And of all the movies, at least that I have here, it's really the only one on this whole list of 10 that sounds like kind of a realistic, grounded, like real life family doing real life shit, you know? The other ones are a little more like out of our reach as normal people. So I feel like that might be something that they respond to too. Just kind of like that good old-fashioned indie drama, if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say there. I like both of our lists, and I wouldn't be mad. I'd be over the moon with Park Chan-wook. I know that for sure. But yeah, the John M. Chu thing was a huge, like, I'm going to predict it now, and I'm going to keep it there until I'm like, okay, never mind, But I mean, right now, I just feel like it could be a cumulative award. It is obviously he's beloved, and the first one was beloved, 10 nominations. So I mean, he's the director, So that was one of the 10, or I'm sorry, it was not one of the 10 last season, director. So if they're like doing that game where they're like, all right, well, let's nominate Wicked for good, but let's don't give it the exact 10 nominations that we already gave it, and they start kind of looking for other possibilities. I mean, he's a great director. I mean, I don't think a lot of people are going to argue with that. So I think it's a possibility. And for a lot of the reasons for the reservations I have for some of these other folks, like Luca and Yorgos, and even Baumbach to a certain extent, I've just got Chu in that fifth spot right now, based on their kind of perceived love of Wicked overall. Now, if they don't love it overall, then obviously I'll change that tune. But that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I guess my thing with John M. Chu is his stylings do not read as the kind of thing the Academy's director's branch is attracted to. can't really off the top of my head think of a nominee like him in the past 10 years or so. Honestly, the closest is like James Cameron for the first Avatar, but that was a different story. A huge success. Wicked was a success, but nothing like the first Avatar.
By the way, I do hope Catherine Bigelow has success this year because we get the JC Bigelow reunion this year. Man, TMZ can't wait. Okay, I'll tell you what. So that's for Best Director. There you guys see it. We only matched 2 on those. And even in the bench list, Cody, we don't really... Well, I didn't do Mike Flanagan, but God, I love him so much from the horror genre, of course. It would be kind of a weird irony if he were to get a lot of notoriety for Life of Chuck, his first like non-horror project.
Yeah,
but it's one of my most anticipated of the year, and I know a lot of people have. Have you seen it, by the way? I know a lot of folks have.
No, I wasn't at TIFF, so I'll just see it with everybody else in June. But I'm so excited.
I know a lot of people have, but yeah, I love him. All right, so we're going to switch. This could be crazy because keep in mind, guys, we don't know. It's April 10th. The Cannes selection literally came out today, which is the first, like, I don't even know if you want to call it a precursor, but it's the first, like, sign of what might happen for certain projects. Not all of them, obviously. So we don't know. We're going on probably, I'm speaking for myself, Cody, but I assume we're going on, like, names, resumes in the industry, directors they're working with. You know, if we've seen trailers, maybe we're going on trailers, but we don't know yet. So we're kind of doing this, I would say, do you think it's fair to say like 85% hunch probably with these categories?
Absolutely. Also, we don't know category placement yet, so anything
That's true too. That's true too. I've got a couple of those actually where I'm like, all right, I guess I'll go with what people are saying, but I don't know. Okay, so Cody, I'm going to be typing as you give us your 10. This is for lead actress. So what 10 do you think stand a chance to get nominated next year?
Number 1, I don't necessarily know if she's gonna win, but she's my most likely nominee right now pretty easily. Cynthia Erivo, Wicked for Good.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, oh man, I got so much I want to say, but I guess I can't really say until we get to some of the other categories. But okay, all right.
Yeah.
Carry on.
I just, she's, again, unless it's a disaster, how do you not consider her a contender?
Yeah.
Next up, I got Jennifer Lawrence in Die My Love.
Oh, okay. J-Law. I was going to put J-Law, but then I thought people might think I meant Jude Law. So I'll spell it.
Jude Law, Best Actress.
Jude Law for Best Actress. A lot's happened since his last role. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Also, I'm realizing all 5 of my potential nominees here are previous nominees, if not winners. So anyway.
Okay.
Number 3, Julia Roberts, After the Hunt.
Yep.
Number 4, I think you'll like this one based on your comments earlier. June Squibb, Eleanor the Great.
Hey, you're coming along on the ride with me? Okay, dude, let's do it, bro.
I'm hopping on that, whatever the thing is she wrote.
I am telling you, man, I'm going to ride that until I know it's completely out of the question because I just,
I get it. And number 5, I'm going with Amanda Seyfried for Anne Lee.
That is so awesome. We'll talk about that when we get to mine, but I'm glad that you mentioned a couple of those. All right, and then let me put my little line here. Okay, so there's your 5. Erivo, Jennifer Lawrence, Julia Roberts, June Squibb, and Amanda Seyfried. All right, so who are the 5 that would round out the 10? All
right, so pending category placement, not sure about this one, but I have Emma Stone for Begonia. They love her, obviously.
They do. They do. You know what's really weird about that particular role? I can't even remember if I have her in my 5 or not. I got to switch over my list. I know she's in my 10. But this is going to sound really strange, but I know she shaved her head for it. I don't know. They just, notice it, So, I mean, I know that sounds silly. Obviously, it'll be a great performance regardless of what her hair looks like. But you know what I mean? It just shows that she kind of went to great lengths for the role or whatever. So, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead there.
No, you're good. Number 7, coming from Sundance, I have Rose Byrne, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I did not see this as a Sundance, but I've heard good things.
All right.
Number 8, I have, if this even comes out this year, very long delayed, but Jessica Lange in Long Day's Journey into Night.
Yeah.
She won a Tony for this. Katharine Hepburn got a nomination for it 60 years ago.
It's Long Day's Journey, right?
Long Day's Journey, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right.
Number 9, I have, again, pending category placement, Jessie Buckley in Hamnet, but seems like she'd be the lead from what we know about the movie so far.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I mean, like you said, who knows, but I think so.
Yeah.
All right.
And number 10, a movie we haven't mentioned at all this entire video, but
oh wow,
Tessa Thompson and Hedda.
Interesting. So I think you and I are bound to be friends forever. I'll tell you why here in a second. Okay, so and I have to pull my list up, but I feel good about your list for sure. So there you see Cody's 5 plus his 5 alternates for lead actress, and you know, this is interesting to me to see. One of the reasons I wanted to have a guest on, which I kind of mentioned earlier, is I just kind of want to see what, not only what other people are thinking, because obviously I could listen to you on the podcast like I normally do, or, you know, whatever, but I want to just kind of like hear you kind of explain to me and talk to me about it. In this case, what's really cool is that we match up on quite a bit, actually. So let me pull up my list. At least if I'm remembering correctly, we did. All right, so here's how
I will say with this category, I hit a very hard stopping point around like 14, 15. Now, that's not to say there aren't great performances out there. Obviously, we are very early in the season, and some maybe in supporting, they're going to switch. But for me, this 10 felt kind of secure at this point in terms of what we know.
Well, you can see what I'm typing on the screen here, and if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to follow along as well. But number 1 is Julia Roberts. I feel like the lineage, previous Oscar winner, she's been on a bit of a break, at least from anything that would be considered, you know, award worthy. So, you know, they love a return. I mean, they love let's get one of our old school Hollywood peeps back in the spotlight. You know, they love that shit. And then on top of that, it's probably going to be a really good performance from her too in a Luca film. So I feel great about that one. I've actually got a pretty big gap from her to my number 2, which is Jessie Buckley for Hamnet.
Okay.
I just think, you know, the wife of Shakespeare, you have the period piece built in, but this is the story of how, you know, that all came to be to begin with. And you got to imagine that's going to come with a lot of like powerful scenes in terms of like emotionality and crying and, you know, whatever else you can think to put in an Oscar clip. We're probably going to get from Jessie Buckley here. And she's been really close
also directed somebody in this category to an Oscar as well.
Yep,
so, and
right.
Jessie, previous nominee. So, yep.
Yep. She's been really close before, and they obviously love her. So now I did put Emma Stone in here, and I, you know, was talking about the hairdo or whatever, but I just think that regardless of that, you just can't, I personally just can't omit her until I like know that it's like Kinds of Kindness or something like that. You know what I mean? Until I'm like, all right, well, that's not going to be, you know, she was great in that, but it wasn't an Oscar, you know, player of a film. So until that, I feel like she has to be at least in your like 10. I mean, at least, you know, so I've got her in right now. Then I also have Miss June Squibb, which you and I have her at the same place actually for. As we get closer to the ceremony, if she were to get nominated, you know, that's when we'll start to kind of like, you and I will hit the road and like get the word out there so she can win. I think the battle right now is getting her nominated, and then once she's in there on the press tour at 94 years old for a film with Scarlett Johansson, who would probably be with her on the press tour. So you're hitting literally all generations of people that probably love movies. So I just, when I think about it, when I see it, it literally makes me so happy. Like just the prospect of that. And I was actually really on board for her for Thelma last year, and that ended up kind of dissolving and not going anywhere. But I think that would be awesome. So then for my 5th spot, I've actually got Rose Byrne. I don't know, obviously, because I haven't seen it. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is one of those stories about like motherhood and the battle around that.
Yeah, so from what I didn't see it at Sundance, partly because of scheduling and partly because, frankly, it sounded like something I didn't want to see at that time when you're trying to cram that many movies in. I had a lot of people be like, it feels like a panic attack. And I'm like, great, I can have those without the help of a movie. Thank you very much. I'll see it if I need to later. Sure. You know, some sort of whatever. But yes, she is playing a mother. The concept is it is very tight on her. I believe the whole time you never see the child. So it really is just focusing on her experience as a mother. For it's very stressful, very stress-inducing. And she's apparently excellent. And I love her. So
that's what I hear. So based on everything I've been hearing, kind of echoing what you were just saying. And then that kind of story always kind of speaks to me too, because that's real shit. You know, like anybody that has kids will respond to that. I'll tell you right now. Like for example, I loved Amy Adams in Night Bitch last year.
Okay.
I just love that. I just thought it was so. Now the surrealistic shit or whatever, like took some people out. You know, I get it. You know, I kind of, the analogy worked for me, but just that type of performance where it's just like a kind of a tortured mother dealing with, you know, in some cases being a single mom or feeling like you're a single mom or whatever. So if we get something like that from Rose Byrne, I'm really excited to check it out. So, and then I've also got Amanda Seyfried. I've got her here for Ann Lee. I wanted her in the 5 so badly. And if I had my choice based on what you see on the screen there, I would probably switch her out for Emma Stone. And that would be a great 5 for me. But I just have to wait and see if Emma Stone is going to miss for some reason. And here's where I have a Revo. Let's see. Okay, so I've got Renate Ransva here, which you did not
she's up there for
mention,
me too.
Right? Sentimental value. And then here you go. Look at this. Me and you. We're doing it. We're doing things. Yeah. Tessa Thompson for Hedda, I've also got in my 10. And then speaking of, I've got Amy Adams at 10 for a movie called At the Sea.
I haven't heard of this one.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about it either, but here she's the lead in it. Here's the synopsis. After a long rehab, Laura returns to her family at their beach home, where she has to readjust to the complicated life that she left behind. And now she's forced to face following the next chapter of her life without the career that gave her fame, fortune, and her identity. So it sounds like she was either like an author or an actress or something, and she was either an alcoholic or an addict, and now she's neither one of those things, and she's living with her folks again. So
it's got a great cast. It's the guy who directed Pieces of a Woman, which an Oscar nomination, obviously.
Yep. So it was on my radar when I saw that, kind of what it's about, and knowing what she can do, and that she, is a multiple nominee, and yeah. So I'm, it sounds Oscar-y. So I'm just like, all right, let me put her on the radar because it's Amy Adams. So there you go. Let me highlight them. Why don't you tell me, Cody, at first glance here, your reaction to my collective group there? Is there anything that kind of jumps out at you?
We are very, very close. There is very little difference except for order between our two lists.
Isn't that interesting, too, to be so early, though? That's super interesting.
Yeah. But I think you had the same, not issue, but you ran into the same thing I did, where it feels like there's a hard stop in terms of contenders, which again is a product of it being just so early in the season. But yeah, I feel like unless there's a huge sea change, we can probably feel pretty good about 2 or 3 of the people in our 10 at least getting in, unless there's something crazy that happens. A lot of previous nominees and winners, a lot of really Academy-friendly contenders. And also, as we saw last year, the Academy is more willing to embrace female-led films outside of just this category, which for a long time it was like movies would get 1 or 2 nominations with Best Actress. And this year, a lot of these movies are also on our Best Picture list.
Right. Yeah,
like the correct trend for the Academy.
Yeah, I do that thing early, though, which could be, it could be genius, and you don't really know till the nominations come out, or it could be a little foolish, but you don't know. It could be either. But I do that thing where I usually go all in on a project. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, Emma Stone's going to get nominated for Begonia, but it's not going to get anything else, or something like that. Rarely I might do it. Like, Rose Byrne's a good example, actually. Like, I don't know if that movie will get anything else. I haven't seen it yet, but
I doubt it.
Every once in a while. But generally speaking, I'm kind of going off of each category is kind of playing off of each other, For
well, that's how the Academy operates, too. They are very tunnel visioned. They pick, like, 30 movies a year, and that's all that they nominate for the entire year.
Right. So we did have a really close match. I think we matched 7 maybe out of the entire 10, but we only had 2 in the what would be our 5 nominees. I want to ask you real quick before we go to the next acting category. You've got a Revo at number 1. I had her just missing. How strong do you feel about that number 1? Or is you just kind of like, that's where I am right now, and that could go
So for me, that's just where I am right now. And it kind of was less, I think she is the front runner to win, which maybe is, I didn't understand the assignment or I didn't follow the rules. But for me, it's more like, I think she is my most likely contender at this point because she has the advantage of, we already kind of know what her performance is going to look like. We saw an entire movie where she's playing the same character, just 4 months ago. So again, and I keep saying this, and I will be repeating myself in supporting actress, unless the movie is a disaster, I have to consider her an extremely strong contender for a nomination here, which means I'm putting her in my number 1.
I agree, man. I agree. I have her just missing. It wasn't so much like I don't think she's going to get nominated. It's more like, are there going to be too many like fresh new performances this year from, like Jessie Buckley and Rose Byrne, for me. And then, some darlings that would be like inspired like June Squibb and Julia Roberts. And like, is it too crowded, in other words, And if that's the case, let's just say the Academy has like 10 or 12 women that they really want to nominate, then is that going to hurt her Revo because she just got nominated and they might be like, oh, we already nominated her. There's so many other performances that we could recognize. So I don't know. I'm not on the Academy, but that was the only thing that kind of gave me pause of her being in the 5. But as we get further along, particularly when For Good comes out and how it plays, because we already talked about how dark it is compared to the first one, then maybe I'll have to change my tune there. Okay, so there you go. There's the Best Actress, and I'm really, I don't know, I guess I'm thrilled, but I'm also kind of surprised that we had very, very similar lists this early. So let's go on to the next category, Cody. So next I have us doing lead actor, But if you want to give me your 10 that you're looking at right now for lead actor next year, what do you got?
So number 1, I have Jeremy Allen White, Deliver Me From Nowhere, playing Bruce Springsteen. Number 2, Academy favorite, Leo, One Battle After Another.
For sure. You know, people have him out, though, right?
I think you can have him out if you're not considering the movie itself. If you are considering the movie itself, you're a fool for not putting in your nomination predictions.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing is just like weird to me. And then they're basing it on the tone of the trailer. And again, I didn't understand that. I mean, I know it looks different if you're matching it against other PTA. I mean, it's definitely a different style than what we normally see from him with like Phantom Thread or whatever. But I mean, that doesn't, I mean, he can do different types of films. You know what I mean? He's not going to do the same film.
He has a movie twice. Like the closest you can say is like Boogie Nights and Inherent Vice are kind of similar, but not really.
Right.
And also, the point of a trailer, especially from a big studio like Warner Brothers, has a different intention than something than how they would play an awards campaign. You know, a trailer is meant to sell to the widest audience possible. Campaign is to do the opposite. Very niche audience.
I agree.
Anyway, I got number 3, Timothy Chalamet, Marty Supreme.
Let's put Timmy C.
Number 4, Colin Farrell in The Ballad of a Small Player.
Nice. I love it.
And number 5, this really could be, I'm not sure, and tell me if I'm wildly wrong here, but I have Andrew Garfield, After the Hunt.
I can't remember where I put him, but I'd have him, though. I think I put him in supporting, though. But like we said earlier, I mean, we have no way of knowing. Yeah, we don't know. I mean, I'll look when I get over there in a second, but I know I have him, so if he's not on my list here, then he's in supporting, but I think he's probably due to show back up at some point, though. I mean, he was just there for Tick, Tick, Boom, Boom. What was that, like three seasons ago?
4 years ago, yeah.
4 years ago, yeah. But I don't think he's been there since, has he? I don't think.
No, he hasn't really come close either, unless I'm forgetting something.
I don't think so either. Okay, so there's your 5, and looking at that, I could see that group right there. And honestly, I mean, of course, we haven't seen the movies, but honestly, I don't know. I feel like if Colin Farrell can get into a nomination list, they might put him over the hump and give him an award, I think.
Sure, I would love it. Yeah, he would have got my vote for Banshees, so
yeah,
I wouldn't complain.
Okay, what else you got on the bench over there?
All right, number 3, I have McConaughey for Rivals of King. Number 7, Tom Hiddleston, Life of Chuck.
All right,
the titular role. I think I haven't seen it. I assume. Number 8, I have George Clooney, Jay Kelly.
So there's your Jay Kelly. That's your first Jay Kelly nom, I think. For you.
Yes. And again, you know, category placement, who knows? But again, category placement. Number 9, I have Denzel for Highest to Lowest.
So you have him in lead here, right?
I do, but I don't really...
Yeah.
I've never seen the original, I will confess. I will fix that soon. So this is just based on what we know about, you know.
Okay.
I think he's first on the listed cast list from what I saw. And number 10, I have Austin Butler in Caught Stealing.
I like it.
I feel much less sure about this list than I do Best Actress for some reason, but...
Same here.
It's still April.
Yeah, I know. So there you see Cody's. Let's see how we did here, Cody, matching up. So my number 1, which I'm going to admit now, if you listen to me at all this past award season, you probably know this. Anybody watching knows this. But Timmy C is my guy. So I rode with him at number 1 as Bob Dylan for literal months when Brody was like sweeping everywhere. I'm like, Timmy's going to win this. Okay, he didn't win that. He's going to win this one for sure. All right, he didn't win that. He's definitely going to get the SAG. And then he did get the SAG. So I was like, okay, finally. And I did finally take him out for my Oscar predictions. But yeah, I hope it's not a Leo situation. I hope we're not waiting 20 plus years for him to win an Oscar. So will it be for Marty Supreme? I don't know. But, you know, I hope so. And I think he definitely has a very, very strong chance to get nominated. So.
Listen, I was riding the Timothy train until probably like a month before the Oscars this past year, so I get it.
Yep, me too. Actually longer than that, but I was there for quite a while. People in my comments were even like, he's not done predicting Timmy yet, he's still predicting Timmy. I'm like, just hang on, guys, trust me. All he needs is the SAG or the BAFTA, and we're good, you know? So anyway, that didn't pan out. And then I also have a matchup with you here because I have Jeremy Allen White. I mean, you know, we've already kind of touched on it, but they love a music biopic, first of all.
Yeah. And he's like very in the spotlight. He's winning award after award for The Bear.
Yep. It would be a very hip
TV love goes over to the Academy, like Jeremy Strong last year, or Kieran Culkin.
It would be considered like a very hip win, you know, or hip nomination. What else? Oh, so here's where I had Leo for One Battle. I do think he's getting in. You know, I don't have any reason to doubt that at this point. You know, I mean, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, the guy gets nominated for literally everything. So, yeah, I'm sure he could miss, depending on how strong some of these other ones are. But right now, I've got him in. And then I do have Austin Butler getting into the 5 too for Caught Stealing. My main, you know, just like we we've been jokingly kind of saying all night, Cody, we don't know. I mean, you know, somebody we're not even thinking of right now could end up winning lead actor. I mean, who knows? So we don't know. But my basis here and why I think he's a strong candidate to get into that 5 is because Aronofsky often gets those lead performances nominated, even if it misses in some other stuff that you would think it would get in, like director, etc. So, you know, Natalie Portman, I mean, most recently Brendan Fraser. I mean, Mickey Rourke when he had his comeback for The Wrestler. Yep. So, you know, Butler, he already got nominated for Elvis. He's BAFTA winner. I believe he won BAFTA for Elvis, right? I think. So
BAFTA and Globe. Yep.
Oh, that's right. And Globe too. Yeah. So, I mean, they have their eye on him. You know, he's one of those up and coming actors like Alan White and like Timmy. You know, they're all kind of in that bucket that are all kind of rising together, and they're all doing really, really good shit. And I think Aronofsky just has a knack for just like his performances get nominated. So right now, because of that combo of reasons, I have Butler getting in. With that being said, I do have people like Clooney, which is, you know, I think you could safely say old Hollywood, missing here. You didn't put Jesse Plemons. Again, this could be a category situation. I don't know, but I've got him as the lead in a Begonia right now.
We will talk about him later.
All right. Yes, yeah, you know. And then I went with Idris Elba because I think he's the lead in Catherine Bigelow's movie.
Okay.
So I feel like he's another one that, like, every time you see him, you're like, man, such a seasoned, great actor. You know, I kind of equate him to like a Coleman Domingo type character where it's like every role he plays is just really turning into really good stuff. And, you know, he hasn't had his due yet from really any awards bodies. Maybe he's got some TV nominations. I can't remember. But
well, he won the SAG for Beast of No Nation and then wasn't even nominated
for
the Oscar. That was weird.
That's right. Yep. So I've got Idris Elba right now, but that's just a swing based on really the Catherine Bigelow of it all and just hoping that movie kind of hits. But, you know, we'll see. And then I've got, much like you, I also put McConaughey that I'm not going to be able to spell for a second time. All right. And then rounding out my 10, dude, I'm going to do it, which might seem kind of like basic, but I mean, when you have Daniel Day-Lewis like returning to acting from retirement and taking on a role in his son's movie, you have to imagine that he's going to turn in some really, really good shit. I don't know what the tone of the movie is going to be, which is what's kind of messing with me a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be comedic or, you know, super dramatic or whatever. I don't know. I think it's like two brothers and kind of like their story. I don't know a whole lot about it.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm kind of just like, we'll wait and see if this is like, not to be rude to his son, actually a thing, you know? Because he was in a movie that his wife directed a few years ago that didn't really go anywhere. It was just kind of, you know, not to be rude. But
no, you're right though. I mean, and kind of like what we said too, I was having, I don't know if trouble is the right word, because I mean, there's a lot of people to choose from, but I was having like a mental kind of like block when I was like, I don't see it happening. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't visualize some of the names that I was mentioning or some of the projects that I was thinking of. But like obviously you can visualize it with Daniel Day-Lewis, you know, because I mean he's been on the stage like every time he's in something. So like I was like, okay, well if it turns out to be like a really powerful performance and he's Daniel Day-Lewis, then sure. I mean it's a possibility. So I've got it as a bit of a long shot right now, but I think he should at least kind of be at top of mind as one of those kind of candidates that could be lurking there in the shadows. So there you go. Let me highlight what we matched up here. We actually did really well in this one too, right?
Yeah, we were 4 out of 5 in the top 5. So.
Oh my God, we did. So we got everything but Garfield, right?
Yep. And I have Austin Butler further down, but I got him.
Oh my God, that's great. So I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, Cody, because we're matching up pretty good here early in the season. So there's a couple that you mentioned that I'm going to mention as supporting, I think. At least one that I know for sure.
And I will be doing the same thing.
Yeah. And that happens. You know, and sometimes it happens when you don't really think it's going to happen because it's category fraud. I mean, we saw that this year, frankly, or this past year. So I mean, who knows? We don't know yet, but that's what we're looking at for lead actor. So when I talk about the visualization of it, Cody, like when you look at this, let's just say the 5 come from this kind of collective group here. Let's just say for hypothetical reasons. Which one of these do you see like, oh, that guy's going to win the Oscar? Like without knowing anything, just kind of looking at the name and kind of like knowing what you know about them as actor. Because I've got one that I'm like, if this was the group, I think I know who wins.
I do think Timmy. Like, yeah. I mean, to your point, I was holding on to him all season last year since I saw the trailer in like August.
I love it.
And he's going to win an Oscar one day. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Are they going to make him wait? We don't know. Or is it going to be, is there enough of a afterglow from last year that it could still be carrying him over this year? I don't know.
Yeah, I love the Timmy shout out because that man, he's got to win it before I die. So I hope it's.
He will.
But the one that I was thinking of, I kind of mentioned earlier, was Colin Farrell. I don't know why, but I just see him the next time he's in a nominated field. If the movie's well received and has other nominations or whatever, which I think this will. We already talked about Edward Berger. I just think they're going to give him the award. That's what I think. I mean, unless it's like one of those situations like Cillian Murphy or whatever, where it's like that's the performance and nobody's going to beat it. But I mean, otherwise, I don't know. I just see that. Now, of course, I could be way off, but that's just like a hunch that I have. I think they want to give that guy an award. So, and I would be all about it because I love him.
I can see it.
All right, so we'll do
supporting actor. Yeah,
we'll do our supporting actors next. We'll go through these supporting ones fairly quickly, just kind of see what we have matched and if there's anything you want to say about any of the ones that maybe we haven't talked about yet. But I think we've covered a lot of the ones that, or at least are going to come up on my list. So.
I have a lot of crossover. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So go ahead and list your 10 real quick, and I'll fill it in here.
Number 1, I got Jesse Plemons, Begonia.
So that's the one I
had. Categories, we don't know. Number 2, I have Benicio del Toro, One Battle After Another.
Nice.
Who has a big year this year because Phoenician Scheme as well.
I know, yeah.
I'll be busy. What else? I got number 3, Mark Hamill, Life of Chuck.
Yeah, I have him on my extended list, I believe, but that would be really cool. Is it 1L?
He was in my predictions last year until the movie got bumped. So carry him over from last year. 1M, 2 L's.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, go ahead.
Like if you got sick from eating pig, you'd be ham ill.
Yeah, you would. Oh, man.
Number 4, I got Jeremy Strong, Deliver Me From Nowhere.
That's a good one. I'm mad at myself now.
I mean, we don't know. It could be like Edward Norton last year. It could be nothing.
Yeah, but you're right, though, because especially coming off The Apprentice and the TV stuff, and that was a really kind of a cute little powerful moment with RDJ at the ceremony. Like, yeah, that could be something. I don't know why I just didn't even think about him when I did my list. But anyway, go ahead.
And number 5, I have Adam Sandler for Jay Kelly. Feels like the kind of guy that they're going to nominate eventually.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's another one where it's like,
he's come close.
Yep. All right, Jay Kelly. All right, so that would be your 5. Let me do a break here and then give me your bench real quick. Your round out your 10.
All right. So number 6 again, but I have Robert Pattinson for Die My Love.
Nice.
He'll get a nomination one day, if not this year. Number 7, I have Jeffrey Wright, Highest to Lowest.
Good one.
Number 8, here's where I have Idris Elba for Catherine Bigelow movie. Okay. To me, we know like nothing about it. It kind of sounds like, given the size of the cast and the description, it's going to be one of those movies where it's an ensemble and everybody's supporting. Again, that's total guess, but almost like September 5 last year. Just feels like that kind of movie. Or Detroit, if we're talking about Catherine Bigelow movies, everybody in that was supporting.
Yeah, you could be right. And honestly, you probably are right, knowing what kind of style of filmmaking.
But yeah. Was that number 8? Okay, number 9, I have Josh O'Connor in The History of Sound.
Good one.
And then he is very likely could be a lead, but I have Paul Mescal for Hamnet.
Yeah, so I've actually got him.
Story.
I've actually got him number 1. So
oh damn!
Yeah,
all right.
I did have him here. So I've already talked about Hamnet, but I just feel like the story is too like juicy from like a bunch of Oscar clips you could put together with people crying and freaking out and yelling at each other and throwing shit and like whatever. I just feel like And then I did put Denzel here in supporting, and I put him really high up because it's Denzel Washington in a Spike Lee movie, no less.
Yep.
So now if he's lead, which I know you had him in lead, and of course we won't really know for a couple more months probably, but then I don't know where I would have him ranked. I would have to kind of figure that out. But with it being Denzel Washington, you got to imagine he's at least in the top 10, kind of floating around there. And then I've got Adam Sandler right here. He's got to get a nomination at some point. And, we're talking about PTA, who kind of got his start with the dramatic roles with Punch Drunk, and come full circle and be with Noah Baumbach, I think is a really good fit for him, especially doing a movie like the Meyerowitz Stories recently, which this sounds like kind of like that in terms of like tone, maybe a little funnier than Meyerowitz, but it kind of reminds me of that type of Sandler that we might get. So I think it could be good. And then I've got actually Sean Penn for One Battle here.
I thought about including him. I wonder how eager the Academy will be to invite him to their ceremony, but also I might be overestimating the Academy in there.
You're right there. That is like an abstract point that you're making that could be very, very true. I don't know. There's something about the like mystery around his performance specifically, because like the trailer, there was a lot of Leo in it. The stills, I don't even think we've got any stills of Sean Penn, except for maybe the one where he has like the book in front of his face or whatever. So like the kind of mystery and ambiguity around his performance and like what he's doing in that movie really intrigues me, and I don't know if that's purposeful or if he just hasn't made the edit. I mean, I don't know. You know, it could be either.
Or
I
if
guess.
they're just not marketing him.
Right, or that'd be too. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, you know, he's obviously a great actor, regardless of whatever else. So I mean, we'll see. I've got him in the mix right now, but and then I had Mark. I did have Mark Hamill on my 5 though, because I thought I had him down a little further, but I've got him here. Ham-ill. I'll remember that now. All right, so let me put my break here. So there you go. That's my 5. Mescal, Denzel, Adam Sandler, Sean Penn, Mark Hamill. That would be my 5 for supporting actor. So then I've got Pattinson here, which you also had. Look how much we're matching up, dude. This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is good, though. And I've got... Okay, so here's the one we were talking about earlier. So I've got Andrew Garfield here for After the Hunt.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Makes
How about
sense.
this one? How about this one? You ready? Jonathan Bailey. Let's fucking go, dude.
You know, I thought about him. He's on my list, SAG nominee. So he gets another song in the second one, at least one, you know, duet. So we'll see.
Yeah. And then I've got Stellan Skarsgård from Sentimental Value.
He's my number 11. He was right there.
And to round out my 10, oh, I know what I did. I was looking at the poster. I'm like, who did I pick from that movie? Andrew Scott for a movie called Blue Moon. Have you heard of this one? It's Linklater.
Yes, about the writing of Oklahoma, I believe.
Yeah,
Musical.
yeah.
I think he won a prize at Berlin for that.
He did, yeah. So I've heard some great reviews, great reception. I know Linklater has another film that actually just made the Cannes list. I'm forgetting what that's called for some reason, but it's the one based on
like something in a different language, I think.
Yeah. But anyway, so he's got really 2 movies that are in the conversation this year. Blue Moon's a little more like, if it's based on Oklahoma, so I don't know, but you would think maybe there's some musical numbers, even if they're like recreating rehearsals or whatever. There might be some musical numbers in there. Margaret Qualley, who we're going to talk about here in a second, is in there. Ethan Hawke, who knows what he's doing, especially working with Linklater. So a lot of great people in it. A really good reception so far. And I think it's kind of under the radar, honestly. Like, I saw it when I was doing research a couple months ago, and I was like, because when I did my initial list, I was just like doing it based on synopses and who was in it, So when I saw it, I'm like, I don't know what nobody's talking about this, but I'm going to put it on my list. And then it had the great reception at Berlin, too. So that would be like my 10 kind of far-fetched, because Andrew Scott's such a good actor, and he's missed where really he shouldn't have. And then recently, I mean, All of the Strangers is what I'm thinking of specifically. So let's get him some notoriety. I've got him at 10 right now, but I would love it. So looking at this, what jumps out at you here? So what do we match up here? We matched up Sandler, Hamill. We matched up. All right. Whoops.
We both have somebody from one battle after another. It's just a matter of who.
Right. I mean, yours is probably more like, or I should say, more like with the grain and not against the grain,
I'm also just going off he was in the trailer a lot. Now, maybe that means his entire performance, we've already seen it. That happens. But
and that's it, right? Just those 2, right?
Going hold me now.
So we had a couple that matched, but you had them in the other category, like Mescal.
In other categories,
Yeah. So, okay. So there you go. That's what we're looking at for supporting actor next year. Now, of course, this is contingent upon the category distinction because, I mean, even in April, we're kind of mismatching on a couple because we just don't really know. And sometimes they'll actually be a supporting and they'll get nominated for lead and vice versa. So, I mean, who the hell knows? You just kind of wake up on Oscar morning and see what you're dealing with, I guess. So I think this is our last category, right? So our last category is going to be for supporting actress, which should be a good one to kind of talk about as well. So I will let you give us your 10 to get us started in this final category that we're going to discuss. Cody, what do you got?
So number 1, for the exact same reasons as her co-star, I have Ariana Grande, Wicked for Good.
You're damn right.
But to your point, I feel a little better about her being a potential winner from what we saw in the first one, what we know she's going to have to do in this one.
Yep. If she nails it, if she gets that like growth for that character and she nails the different kind of persona, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't vote in awards, but I feel like if she nails it, considering that it's going to be impressive, I would think.
Number 2, I have Regina Hall, One Battle After Another. All right. Number 3, I have Iowa Depp, After the Hunt.
I would love that, man.
Yeah.
I can tell that you're doing kind of like what I do, what I was talking about earlier, because I can tell that you're in on After the Hunt. Like, I can tell that from this conversation tonight. Like, I
have good vibes on it.
Which I love that. And I wonder if, because I love you, I wonder if that might sway me a little bit, just because I'm just so worried about how much they've overlooked his projects. But I mean, is this going to be better in Challengers? Like I keep asking myself that, because I mean, that was
from
so
what
good.
I've heard, they're already pushing it specifically as like, this is an Oscar movie. This is something which maybe is defensive because Challengers and Queer both flopped at the Oscars. I just have a good feeling about it.
No, that's good. I hope you're right.
Yep.
Okay.
Number 4, I'm double dipping here. I have Tiana Taylor also for One Battle After Another.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're not afraid to do 2 performances supporting same movie.
I was going to say, is that okay? Are you doing that just because you didn't want to pick? I guess I could go down. They're both great.
A little bit. And also my pool is a bit shallow here.
Okay, all right.
And then number 5, this is mostly because I've already seen this performance. Who knows? But I have J-Lo for Kiss of the Spider-Woman.
Nice. Is that a musical, by the way?
It's 100% a musical. She is,
it is
literally only singing and dancing. She doesn't have anything else to do in that movie.
So this isn't on par with like her Hustlers performance. This is just a straight up musical theater kind of thing.
She is singing and dancing the entire time. I think she maybe has like 4 spoken lines of dialogue.
Okay, cool. Well, that obviously could suit her then. So I've got her on my list too. I can't remember if she's in my 5 or not, but I've got her on my list too when we get there. But go ahead and round out your 10 real quick.
Sure. Number 6, I have Emily Blunt for The Smashing Machine.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that one yet. I'm super weary about this one. I don't know. You know why, though? This is literally, no pundit should ever do this. Nobody listening to this should ever do this. But I'm literally not predicting that movie to really get anything, at least till I see it, because the Iron Claw blanked. Like, I'm like, if they didn't give the Iron... I know that's so weird, but like, I feel like there's similar movies, and that was such a good film that came out, I think, at Christmas or like right before Christmas, and was very Academy friendly, I thought, in terms of like the way it was portrayed. And I guess it didn't get pushed hard enough by A24 or what, I don't know. But anyway, I was like, if the Iron Claw missed last year, how are they going to nominate Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? You know what I mean? It would just be strange to me.
Yeah.
Now, of course it could happen, but
Iron Claw was totally because of the release date. By the time it got released, all the ballots have already everybody had already decided what's going to be the best film of the year, even though the year hadn't ended yet. But and I don't see Academy Award nominee Dwayne Johnson, at least not right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, but Emily, I do see that, and
Emily Blunt, she's been nominated before, and they have a benefit of having her in that project because that does bring a little more heft to it for me personally, just because a lot of the other things involved in that particular project that I've seen are kind of unproven, at least from like the Oscar standpoint. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, maybe it'll be freaking phenomenal. It'll floor me. I mean, I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't dislike The Rock. I just think of him as like an action star, like Fast and Furious and all that shit, you know, which I mean is great. There's a place for that too. But I don't know. It's going to take some convincing. Let's just put it that way. And I know I sound kind of snobby, but that's just kind of where I am right now.
Yeah, I get it. I will say I don't like The Rock as an actor. Sorry. I'm willing to say that. I'm willing to be proven wrong. I wasn't really a fan of Adam Sandler in general until Uncut Gems. So, you know, and now I'm hoping he gets nominated for an Oscar.
There you go.
All right, that was number 6. Number 7, I have Anne Hathaway for Mother Mary.
God, I love it. You have her in supporting though, huh?
I don't know. We'll see.
No, so I think she was like my 11 or 12 in lead, but
okay, gotcha.
I'll talk about it in a second because I have something else I was going to bring up here. So go ahead, round it out.
Number 8, again, going off of the idea this is an ensemble, and she is the highest listed person behind Idris Elba, Rebecca Ferguson for the Catherine Bigelow film.
I think both of us are going in on Bigelow's project. You know, the problem
I think a lot of people are not because they're scared from Detroit, but I think that was the exception, not the rule. So long ago. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And the other thing too is, I mean, Netflix has this like weird thing in the last like 5 years where it's like all these like action movies with all these really good actors and stuff, and in some cases really good directors. I mean, the Russo brothers just did that damn piece of shit that Millie Bobby Brown was in, or whatever, Electric State or whatever.
Something.
But they do all that like really kind of like action friendly films, and you know, this definitely sounds like kind of an action thriller, political thriller. So I don't think it's going to be like the Electric State. That's not what I'm saying, because it's Catherine Bigelow. But I mean, I'm just wondering if it's just going to be a Netflix action movie, you know, that's really good, or if it's going to be like, you know, Oscar-y. So, but
and they've done that with directors. I mean, like J.C. Chandor had Triple Frontier that's just sitting on Netflix. You can watch right now, and I haven't seen it, despite loving everything else he's done.
Yep.
Except for anyway, number 9, I have Tilda Swinton, Ballad of a Small Player.
Nice.
Weirdly, she only has 1 nomination, and it was her win.
Yeah, that is kind of weird, isn't it?
It's very, very, very weird.
She's one of those just like just so good every time, you know.
And then number 10, why not? I have Glenn Close for Wake Up Dead Man, Knives Out movie.
Girl, Bob, you trying to get Glenn Close to get looked over again. I can't believe you.
We can't have her final nomination be Hillbilly Elegy. We have to get something else in there.
Man, her and Diane Warren just hand in hand, you know. What? Let me pull my list up here real quick. So that's a good 10 there, but there's quite a few actually. I think this might be the first category where we're going to have a nice mix of names, I think, because I don't think
I hope so. Yeah.
I don't have any of the ones below the line that you have there on mine. None of those 5 are on mine, at least from what I remember. So let me pull mine up here real quick. Okay, so we do have some up top that I will mention. So here's how I would list mine, and then we'll see how we match up. So I also have, at my number 1, I have Regina Hall.
Love it. Love her.
One Battle. You know, we already talked about PTA and what he's doing there. I've got Ariana at 2 right now, Wicked for Good. Honestly, those are interchangeable. I mean, we don't know, but, you know, I hope if Ariana like I said earlier, I hope if Ariana's in the conversation that she gets, maybe not the Oscar necessarily, but I hope she gets something to like take home with her for this role.
Yeah.
So that you did not mention, neither one of us had mentioned Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan. I mean, I don't dislike her, but like her acting prowess or whatever, I don't marvel at it, but I just think that she's like got that lineage with Hollywood. She is loved in the industry generally, and she hasn't really taken on a role in quite a while. I mean, what was the last one that would have even been considered by them? Maybe Contagion, maybe? I mean, I don't even know.
Sure. Yeah.
Not that one was considered, but I mean, that could have been, you know what I mean? So, you know, it could be a bit of a return for her. And I've heard that she, you know, has these really intense, like, sex scenes with Timmy, and like she's like going for it. Did you see that news report about her telling the intimacy coordinator they could go home or whatever? We didn't need you.
Oh boy.
You know, yeah. So it could be seen as problematic, but it's also kind of funny when I read it. But I don't know. I mean, I just have, again, it's just a hunch. We don't know. But right now I've got her kind of in my head. So we'll kind of see how that plays out and what her performance, how it's received when the movie comes out. And also that Christmas release always kind of like gets me going. Then I do have J-Lo in the 5. So I couldn't remember if I had her in the 5 or the 10, but I do have her in the 5. And that was why I asked about the musical aspect of it, because I was happy to hear what you said, because I feel like if it is musical performance, then I mean, obviously, you know, J-Lo is equipped for that. So yeah, that could go a long way with them.
It's very much playing into her strengths. Like, there's no way to watch it and be like, well, she shouldn't be doing that. Like, she's a singer and dancer. She's very good at it.
Now, look, Cody, don't get mad at me, okay? I'm about to type this out, okay? I don't want you or anybody to come at me. I'm just going to tell you, this continues to happen. So I went ahead and said, you know what? Let me just start out this way, so then maybe I'll be wrong and we can backtrack and kind of fix our lives here. Jamie Lee Curtis. She is in a project where she's the supporting actress for Ella McKay.
Yep, the James L. Brooks movie.
James L. Brooks, yep. So I've got her on my radar. I've actually got her in my 5 right now because, I mean, they obviously love nominating her. So I
mean, I predicted her to get nominated just this past year, and I was kind of surprised it didn't happen. So
yeah, me too. I thought it was going to happen too. Who did I pick for this? Why can't? Oh. So I went, you know how I was kind of doing this theme too of like some old Hollywood kind of mixed in. I mean, I use the term old Hollywood as in like the last 20, 30 years. I don't mean like the 40s. Yeah. But Alicia Silverstone is in Begonia as well.
Oh, I did not know that. That's exciting.
In apparently a pretty juicy supporting role from what I read. And she's another one that it could be seen as a bit of a comeback, you know. And I don't know, I think it'd be really cool to have her on the circuit in award season. So I just another one of those things I can kind of like visualize, you know what I mean?
I agree. I love that.
So I've got her in the mix there. I also did the supporting role, and you actually convinced me that the Bigelow project is probably going to be an ensemble, where it's going to be really hard to be like, this is our lead. But it's interesting that I went a different route. I went with Greta Lee for supporting.
I was between her and there was one other person in that movie.
You did Ferguson. And,
I did Ferguson.
Willa Fitzgerald is in it.
Willa Fitzgerald, that was it. Yeah. I had literally, until we started talking, I had all 3 of them as one slot, and just like, who knows? And then I saw that Rebecca Ferguson's listed highest. So.
Yep. I'm going, not all in, obviously, but I'm going on like a 3 to 4 nomination, or 2 to 4 nominations for that movie Blue Moon about the Oklahoma musical. So I'm thinking that we got to have Margaret Qualley in the mix, especially after her, I'll just say it, snub for The Substance. I mean, I don't know how she didn't get in for The Substance. So, you know, I mean, she's actually got a couple projects this year that I think she might be lead in a couple of them, though. But she actually has a few on the horizon that are all kind of Academy friendly. So I feel really good about Blue Moon as a project. And I think it's under the radar right now. So I'm kind of putting her out there. We'll see. And then how about this one? So this is definitely, I hate when Matt says hope dicting. I came up with a different word for it. Predicticizing.
Nobody likes me says that.
Did I say that? Yeah, predicticizing. That's my word, because it's like you're fantasizing it, you know?
Like fantasizing.
Not that you didn't get it without me explaining it to you, but you know what I mean. So predicticizing or hope dicting, Hunter Schafer from Mother Mary. I love her so much. She went to the same college that my daughter went to. She graduated from film school last year. And they went to the same. Now, they were about 4 years apart, so they were only there for 1 year and they didn't know each other. But yeah, I just love that kind of North Carolina connection to her, and everything I see her in, she just blows me away. I mean, whether you're talking about Euphoria or like a B part in like that Hunger Games movie, like every time I see her, I'm just like, my God, she's so good.
I liked her in Cuckoo. Yeah.
In Cuckoo, she was great. Yeah. And it would be, obviously the trans representation would be really cool too. But I'm gonna put her in. I want her in the conversation. So I mean,
yeah,
it's not like 100,000 people are going to watch this, but anybody that watches it, remember Hunter Schafer, because I would love for her to get some notoriety. My number 10 was, oh yeah. So I've actually heard some chatter about this performance too, which would be really exciting because I love her too. But Elle Fanning for Sentimental Value rounds out my 10 there. So, you know, in looking at these lists, I'll see what we matched up on here. And looking at this list, Cody, for supporting actress, obviously we're taking some swings because just like everything else, really, we don't know. I do think that it's pretty, I won't say common sense, but pretty normal to suggest like Ariana Grande or even Regina Hall. But some of the other ones are just kind of like, yeah, I could see it happening. It might happen. Who the hell knows, right? I mean, are there any of these that you feel like really, really good about?
Feel really good about Ariana. I do.
Me too.
And even having, as much as she was successful in the first movie, the second one, again, knowing what we know about part 2 based on the stage show, she gets even juicier, more Oscar-friendly things than she did in the first one, which the first one was a wonderful, wonderful performance that I probably would have voted for. I feel like the nomination came because it was a combination of, we didn't think you could do it. We didn't really know you as an actor before this, or at least an actor that was Oscar-worthy. Sorry, the Ariana fans who are watching this. And 2, she pulled off the comedy. And the fact that the Oscars were like, good job with the comedy, here's a nomination and almost a win, is different for them. And Act 2 is much more dramatic, hefty stuff that is much more Academy friendly. So I feel pretty good about her getting at least a nomination here. And then Regina Hall, I also feel pretty good about.
Yeah, those are the two for me too. Yeah, those are the two for me where I'm like, those make sense, and you could kind of even explain them based on things that we have in front of us. The other ones are like, they make sense, but it's like you don't really have any evidence or anything to like go on. You know what I mean? Aside from them existing, you know, which for some of them, honestly, would be enough for me. But, you know, the Academy is a weird group, so we'll have to see what kind of hits with them and what doesn't. But generally speaking, I feel like a lot of times with the supporting roles, they come along with a project that's been pretty well revered on the awards circuit in general. It's not like, you know, I mean, even A Real Pain for Kieran Culkin, you know, had a lot of screenplay love, and it was thought that it might be a Best Picture nomination. And so, you know, usually the supporting is coming along with a pretty well-received film as well. So, yeah, so that's what we're looking at for supporting actress. Cody, you're the man, dude. Let me go back in, because I haven't been looking at you because I've been looking at my list. And I got to look at you because you're in your new house and your new kitchen, which is great. Let me see if I can fix this view here.
Bold of you to say house.
So we can wrap up on our full screen images here. You're the best, man. Thanks so much. I know we did this for like 2+ hours and it was a long conversation, but I wanted to have somebody along that is knowledgeable, is well versed in this stuff and does it and has a good time doing it. I didn't want somebody that's like, oh God, we have to talk about the Oscars in April. So I knew you'd be all about it. And I just wanted somebody to kind of help me kick off my predictions this season. So this just so all my viewers and listeners know, this will be on my website in the next like week or so. I'll make sure to get my predictions on there. And then, like I said, I'll keep them updated here in the early part of the season, at least once or twice a month. And then obviously more frequently the further we get along in award season. And I would take what Cody said tonight with a grain of salt too, because we don't know what the hell was happening. We like to think that we do. And maybe, you know, like last year I got 5 out of 10 right with this, which was crazy when I did it like in May of last year. But that's like, I was shocked. So, you know, I don't expect to do that every single year. So we'll see how it goes. Cody, why don't you tell everybody? I think they probably know, but why don't you tell them where they can find you and what you want to point them to online?
Sure, yeah. I am on every social media platform at CodyMonster91. I write and podcast with Next Best Picture. You can find me on there along with Awards Watch. And I have my own podcast where I talk about horror movies. It's a very silly podcast. Called Halloweeners, a horror movie podcast.
Love it. I'm a big horror guy, and I've listened to that show. Have you done one recently, though? I haven't gotten like a... Oh, okay. I was going to say, I haven't gotten a notification.
We record whenever we feel like it, which, you know,
no, that's great.
Depends.
No, I dig it, though. I've listened before, and it's a great show. I'm a big fan of yours, and I can't thank you enough for being here. Hopefully, you know, we have a long way to next year's Oscar, so hopefully I can get you back over here. Maybe you can do one of the fantasy drafts with me if you want to do the fantasy drafts.
Love it.
Your buddy Matt came in and we did Best Picture, and I've got to do a lot of other categories. I'm going to have different folks do the draft with me and then kind of settle up at the end of the year to see how well or how off we were with our drafted teams. So we'll see how that goes. If you want,
I am going to rewatch this next March and be like, what was I thinking? Looking forward to that.
Yeah. We do that every year, though, you know. I mean,
no, I love it. Yeah.
I had Joker, Foley, Apupu getting like, 10 nominations last year at this time. Yep. So, I mean, who knows? You're the best, Cody. I really appreciate you being here, man. I'm glad we were finally able to link up. And once again, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks very much.
Guys, thanks for watching. I got all kinds of stuff on the horizon, rankings, predictions, everything else. So make sure you subscribe. And don't forget, I'm giving away a custom stretched on canvas poster of ANORA. That's a giveaway that's going on that's going to end at the end of May. So make sure you subscribe and leave a comment on literally any of my videos, and that'll be enough to get you entered into the contest to win that poster. It's a pretty sweet poster. My son was like, "You're not going to keep it?" And I'm like, "No, I got to give it. I got to give it to whoever wins." But, you know, he wants it on the wall here too. Cody, thanks again, man. I appreciate it. And guys, thanks for watching. I will see you guys out here next time in the garage.